Okay, according to YouTube, I am live. It's Gordon Causey, live and unscripted, talking about the election, talking about all things political going on in Canada right now. It is Monday, the 25th, late in the evening, Monday, the 25th of March, 2025, 10:30 in the evening, now 10:31. I see I've already got a number of people on the live. I love having you all here. Danny, John, I have a new name I haven't encountered before, Yenta's Bagels. I love the name, Yenta. I'm going to assume, given the name Yenta's Bagels, I'm going to assume feminine. And likewise, that you're probably from Montreal, Montreal being famous for its bagels. And I say bagel, I don't say bagel. I hate it when that happens. Bagel, not bagel. All right, this is my dog, Candy the Wonder Pup. She shows up at the start of every video because I have been trained that I have to give her a treat to start. So shake a paw, lay down, speak, speak. Oh, good bark. And there, that takes care of Candy. Uh, what's being said before I get rolling? So let's show Yen's Bagels comment, if it'll show up. What's going on with my computer? There it is. Who are the 11 traitors? And Carney can't speak French. No French debate either. The PM must be completely fluent in French. He will never get voted in. I'm not as optimistic as you are, Yentas, that Carney has no chance of getting in. Um, the Bloc Québécois is going to do very well in the province of Quebec, I would imagine, because Carney's French is not the greatest. It's not horrible. It's not as bad as what Joe Clark spoke it far worse. Ed Broadbent was absolutely brutal. I'm old. I'm 58 years of age. My memory stretches back into the late 70s and early 80s. That's when I became politically sentient, as it were. And I think Carney's French has been improving. I haven't paid hyper close attention, but I have seen some clips where he's been talking, and it strikes me that when he is reading from a prepared script, he doesn't do too bad. It'll be interesting to see. I just came across a article tonight stating that there are debates planned for mid-April, but I didn't read the details. Are they both going to be English language debates? I find that difficult to believe. There has to be a French language debate. Pierre Poilievre, his French is good. He doesn't have what I refer to as native fluency, but he's very close. Jagmeet Singh of the NDP genuinely surprises me with his degree of fluency in French. That is one thing I will give the man credit for. His degree of fluency in French is remarkable for someone for whom English, or rather French, is a third language. Jagmeet Singh speaks Punjabi, English, and also French. I saw him on a popular Quebec talk show called Tout le monde en parle. Everybody's talking, basic translation. And it's kind of a talk show that mirrors a talk show from France by the same name. Anyway, we will see. I have Danny wishing me a good evening, and likewise saying that he's got his his Bible, and coffee ready for the Carney Clown World. Uh, let me just trying to get through the message, and for some reason, things are going slow on my computer. John 5 is saying hello to everyone. And John 5 is speaking to the subject line of this video. Yeah, that security clearance. I thought he got it already. Well, no, he does not, unless there has been breaking news within the last day. I checked this last night, and Pierre Poilievre has been refusing to get his security clearance. And this is something to which I can speak with some degree of knowledge because having served in the Canadian Armed Forces in the communication branch, signals, SIGINT, SIG intelligence, working in communication centers where confidential, secret, top secret type messages would come across the system, I was required to have a security clearance, which is something Pierre Poilievre has refused to do. And I'm not going to suggest that he is right in not getting it, nor am I going to suggest that he is wrong in not getting it. I understand the motivation, I believe, behind his not wanting to get his security clearance. A principal case in point is the issue of foreign interference that has been investigated by the RCMP and CSIS, which is the Canadian Security and Intelligence Service. And they are the ones who would vet Pierre Poilievre and grant him a security clearance. But then once Pierre Poilievre, assuming he was to be given a security clearance, top secret, my security clearance, I'm going back a few years now since I last had it updated. But mine, I think, was top secret. And I know there were a couple levels above what I had. And what it would effectively do is muzzle him. Pierre Poilievre would be made privy to information, and then he could get into trouble if he talked about it. So if he was to be made aware of who the MPs and senators and potentially other bureaucrats who have either knowingly or unknowingly been compromised by foreign actors, now Pierre Poilievre would be precluded from speaking about it and from holding his opponent's feet to the fire. The reason I'm in between on now, does that mean I think he should not get it? This is where things get dicey. It leaves him vulnerable to attack. The opposition, Mark Carney, and before him, Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, his political opponents have said, why do, they've been casting aspersions on Pierre Poilievre, suggesting that maybe there's some nefarious reason why he doesn't want to get his security clearance. And I don't think there's any nefarious reason or reasons. Pierre Poilievre has stated publicly that if he were to receive a security clearance, it would effectively muzzle him on commenting on things like the foreign interference that has happened in the Canadian political sphere. And so I'm on that count willing to put some water in my wine. The thing about politics, the way it is now, is that so often people are not voting for something, more they're voting against something. I've enumerated in previous videos all kinds of reasons why to stay the heck away from Mark Carney with or rubs elbows, likes to get his elbows up so he can rub elbows with the Ghislaine Maxwell's of the world, the partner in crime of one Jeffrey Epstein and his famous, that criminal pedophile who maybe not committed suicide in a prison that was supposed to be under 24-hour video surveillance, and all of a sudden the cameras went down conveniently. You talk about a recipe for all manner of conspiracy theories, and I have my own. My own is that I don't think I don't Jeffrey Epstein got conspiracy theory, but there we go. Let's see what's being written. I have Brett Skinner, our friend from the great state of Wyoming. Let's see what he wrote. If something's going on with my computer, it is slow. Brett is writing that the general at General CN News subscribe breaking. Canada has issued a travel advisory warning that Canadians who stay in the US for more than 30 days could face fines and misdemeanor charges. True. Now, what's being required now is if a Canadian is traveling to the US and is going to be there for more than 30 days, they have to register. They have to register with Immigration and Naturalization Services in the United States. Previously, that was not required. There's also the potential that Canadians could be fingerprinted. So if a Canadian does go down to the United States and stays beyond 30 days without having registered with Immigration and Naturalization Services, then yes, there is the potential that they could face fines because they would then at that point have overstayed their welcome. You're allowed to travel casually as a Canadian into the United States for more than 30 days. But if you're going to be there for 30 days or more, I'm not sure if it's 31 at what, is it at 30 that it kicks in or 31? That's the minutia of it. But if you're going to be there for more than 30 days, you have to register and potentially be fingerprinted. So it's one of those things where true, not true, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Don't register, and yes, you could face fines. Um, the travel advisory is advising Canadians that if you are going to be staying in the United States for more than 30 days, register with immigration. I'm not, maybe Brett, you can fix this. I could do a quick Google, but I don't want to right now. Um, my computer seems to be going slow for some reason. And I rebooted before I started the video just to include issue like on. Danny's in agreement with me, and I'm assuming that's with relation to the fact that Pierre Poilievre does not want to be muzzled. For what it's worth, it's the same deal if any Canadian parliamentarian wants to view the contracts that our government signed with Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, pharmaceutical companies for the COVID vaccines, you're not allowed to see them unless you first sign a non-disclosure agreement, thus muzzling you. So you're not allowed to divulge what is in those contracts. Likewise, if Pierre Poilievre was to get his security clearance and find out that there is a whole waft of liberals, MPs and senators who have been compromised either knowingly or unknowingly by the Chinese Communist Party, well, now he's not allowed to talk about it. He could jeopardize. There may be ongoing investigations. There may be, this is the world of intel, the world of SIGINT. And so, and I don't know whether he's making the right decision or the wrong decision. That's not my call to make, but it's not anything that I'm going to be overly concerned about. I went through my security clearance. It's not hard. It's pretty easy. But whatever the case. And Danny's referencing tout le monde en parle. Tout le monde en parle. Everyone is talking about it. Yeah, I translated more to everybody's talking. Everybody's talking. What are we talking about? And I've watched that show a number of times. I am bilingual. Je parle français. C'est ma deuxième langue. J'ai habité dans la ville de Québec entre 2011 et 2015. J'étais muté. Valcartier, quand j'étais dans l'armée, Valcartier, 5e brigade mécanisée de Canada. Je travaillais pour QGT, quartier général, escadron des transmissions, et par la suite avec 5e ambulance de la campagne. One of these days, I'm going to do a French language video, see if I can do it. I haven't done one it's probably getting close to a year now. My French is not getting any better. It's not horrible, but it's getting, I'm on the decline. I got to make a trip to Quebec this summer. I'm thinking about hang up and checking out Club des Sports and Wendake and Montmorency and go check out my old haunts when I lived there. I genuinely loved living in Quebec City. It is a beautiful city. Love the people, love the culture, love the language. Anyway, what is Brett writing? I always thought a security clearance would have been awesome to have. It is, but then you're not allowed to talk about what it is you've seen. So if you like playing the game of, know, that that's only on a need to know basis and you don't need to know. If you like to play that card on, you do it personally. Uh, and everyone in the military will get a security clearance, regardless. And the lowest level, as I recall, is confidential. And then there's secret, then there's top secret, and then there are a couple more beyond that. Mine was top secret. Uh, and getting back to Epstein, Danny's saying that he's probably back on his island, goodness knows. And Danny's telling me that I'm lagging a little, and I've shut down everything on the computer. I don't know what it is. I'm in a rural area. Internet connections tend to be shared, so maybe there's a lot of people on the internet tonight. That could be the case. I am planning to do some more videos this coming week. During the day, I'm planning to do one tomorrow. Some been doing like I do typically, but other people like to come on during the day. And that's where they'll be introduced to a channel. And so I may get some new eyes who, and if I can put forth a coherent message about why I think Canadians should no way Mark Carney, that we should anybody but ABC, anybody but likes to get his elbows up and rows with Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's a good way to eat your strawberries and champagne while you're at Wimbledon, which is another one of his favorite haunts. He loves going to Wimbledon, Mark. Real Canadian guy. This is a dog and pony show that he is foisting on Canadians. And the only reason the Liberals have seen their fortunes rebound from basically the basement is because of Donald Trump in the US. And they've done, the media and the Liberals themselves have done a great job of painting Mark Carney as the best or the best choice to go up against this rank political outsider. Donald Trump, a steamroller, and he's not following political protocol. He doesn't know the political game. Donald Trump isn't a politician. He's from the financial world. So wait a minute. So our choice to go up against Donald Trump is to have a guy like Donald Trump who has no political experience whatsoever, who comes from the financial industry, who's used to operating like a dictator. Well, it's going to end well. I'll take my choice, Pierre Poilievre. We've got Pierre Paul, or I'm just going to go over some of the talking points that I think every one of us should be talking when we're out and about. Out and about. We should be talking to everyone can about the fact that Mark Carney moved high-paying Canadian jobs to New York City and then lied about it during the debates, during the leadership debates, that coronation when they were handing him the reins to the Liberal Party and the keys to the office of the Prime Minister. He lied to Canadians and said that the decision to move those jobs from Toronto to New York City was made after he left Brookfield, but it was a lie. The decision was made in October, and he actually sent out a letter explaining to shareholders that they would be moving, under his direction. Brookfield Asset Management has decided to move its headquarters from the Canadian city of Toronto and to take those high paying jobs and move them down to Donald Trump's old playground of New York City. And this is the guy who calls himself Captain Canada. Save it. It's a lie. It's marketing. It's a dog and pony show. Uh, not he doesn't even hold a seat in our House of Commons, and he's been installed as the prime minister by 151,000 Liberal Party members, a party that allowed party memberships to 14-year-olds and foreign nationals. They're not telling Canadians how many foreigners, how many children voted in that process that installed Mark Carney, the same way that the Democrats had Kamala Harris installed on them undemocratically. You don't have to like Trump or like him or hate him, like Kamala Harris or hate her. There's a process, there's a democratic process, and that should take place. And Mark Carney was just inserted into the role of prime minister within days of getting the keys to the office. He hops on in Great Britain to play prime minister. Did he sign any agreements? Did he back anything of tangible value? No, zero, nothing. He was calling an election in a few days. Why is he going over there? Why? Photo opportunity, chance to keep him. He's doing what Trump does. He's keep himself at top, and his investments are with companies that build pipelines in other countries, while at the same time he wants Canada to keep its oil and natural gas in the ground. He wants to impoverish Canadians and make other nations wealthy. He's not Canada first. And the last thing is he won't disclose his financial assets. So anyway, that's about all I had to say tonight. But in terms of the security clearance, if you're talking up Pierre Poilievre, well, why doesn't he get his security clearance? The reason is because once he has it, once he's briefed on anything of a confidential, secret, top secret, or higher nature, then he's got to keep his mouth shut and he can't talk about it. He can't hold the government. He has made allusions in the House of Commons to the foreign interference and wanting to know how many liberals were involved. And Trudeau just has to play dumb because it could be a question of national security. There could be ongoing investigations. The world of intelligence, the world of espionage is real and it's messy. So let's just read the messages and then I'm going to tap out for tonight and be coming back again tomorrow talking about the same thing. My father, Danny's father, lives in Arizona from November to April. And now when he goes down, and even if he's down there right now, I don't know, if there's a grandfather clause, if someone who came in before these new rules were brought into effect, do they still have to go and register with U.S. immigration? I don't know. He may want to call the Canadian embassy or the consulate. I don't know. If there's a consulate in Phoenix or whatever part of Arizona he's in, and get on the phone with the embassy. Hey, Sharunian is having a birthday. Happy birthday, Sharunian. We won't ask you how many. And Denny didn't realize that I watched French TV when I lived in Quebec. I did. I've seen, who have I seen on Tout le monde en parle? I have seen Jagmeet Singh. I've seen Corey Hart. I watched when they were having the whole debate over religious symbols. I watched a woman Jeanette or something, famous Quebec woman who I'd never heard of before, who came on to talk about her support for the Quebec law, which bans public servants, government employees from wearing anything of an overtly religious nature. And it caused quite a blow up. I've seen the show a number of times. And Sugar Sammy. I watched him being interviewed on the show. Um, Denny's saying that if I do a French show, do it live, so he can help. Oh, definitely, I'll definitely do it live. I don't think I pronounce things too bad pour un hostie carré, un maudit anglophone. My French accent isn't bad, but I do know that, my vocabulary is lacking. It's not my first language. I don't have native fluency. Eat Me is here and saying, and she's cooking, so she's not typing too much. No worries. Max is here. Good evening, everyone. Sharon is saying, Gordon, it feels much great to reach this age. Oh, if I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. My sciatic nerve is still giving me issues. And but I haven't missed any. Well, I have missed some work for it, but I got through a 9 hour day today. I finished at 9 o'clock, and I'm getting worn out, getting old. Everyone's saying hi. Okay, I've got what's Max writing? NSICOP formed in 2017 after Trudeau was elected. And NSICOP isn't a standing committee nor a special committee of parliament. It's an agency of the executive branch overseen by the PMO. I'll have to look into that one. And National Committee on Intelligence and goodness knows, I'm trying to make out that acronym, but I can't. And we have Max saying that even Beauclair, who's the former leader of the NDP and at one time the leader of the official opposition to Stephen Harper, back in that era, even Beauclair says he wouldn't get a clearance as opposition leader if he had to, and no opposition leader should. Interesting to hear that coming from Thomas Mulcair, and I'll take that at face value. Max saying the fact that the former NDP leader wouldn't get a clearance shows it's not a partisan issue, but the Libs are trying to make it one. Well, all's fair in love and war. This is politics, and politics is war. And Danny's, all's fair in love and war. And they're going to, this is why I try. Some will take issue with the fact that Justin Trudeau is living in the cottage, which is a building on the grounds of Rideau Hall. And they'll say, why are taxpayers, da, 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 da. And that's one of the areas I'll go, you know what, I'm going to leave that aside. That's small. That's petty. That's petty in my books, to give Trudeau grief over the fact that he didn't want to live in 24 Sussex Drive, which the issues with that residence are legion, and I don't blame him for not wanting to live in there with his kids. My other opinions on him now notwithstanding, I'll give him a pass on that. And I think most reasonable people will. I think we look petty when we go after petty things. And Danny's writing that 150,000 sheeple voted for Carney. We don't know how many of them were kids, how many were foreign nationals. The Liberal Party's never going to tell us. The Liberal Party, to be a card-carrying member, you only had to be 14 years of age. You don't even have to be a Canadian citizen. You just have to show normal residency, whatever that means, and then you can be a member. And then of the 400,000 people who have that are card-carrying members of the Liberal Party, only 150,000 were, I think it was actually up in around 151, were able to navigate the verification process and were allowed to vote in the actual race to replace Trudeau. And how many of them were kids? How many were foreign nationals? The Liberal Party will never tell us. They're not transparent. Max is asking if I think will Trump go ahead with tariffs on Canada on April 20th? If yes, how do you think it will affect the election? There are lots of things coming up. We're slated, and I didn't think it was April 20th. I think it's April 2nd. he wanted to impose them on April 1st, but he didn't like the optics of it being done on April 1st, so he chose April 2nd instead. And he put tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel during his first term. I think it was in 2018 or 2019. He put tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, as well as other countries, and no one said anything. It's like it never happened. Now, I swear, it's like the Liberals have decided to make this an election issue. They've made it an election issue by, framing it as Canada is under attack. More problematic than the tariffs is the fact that Trump is openly saying he wants Canada to become the 51st state. And that has stirred a lot of latent Canadian patriotism. No, we'll never, because if you ask a Canadian, what does it mean to be a Canadian? Quite often it'll say, well, we're not, a Canadian will say, well, it means we're not American. That part of our identity, what it means to be a Canadian, is to say, well, we're not Americans. That's not much of an identity to begin with. I prefer to say I'm an unarmed American with universal health care. That's a better description. We're very closely watch the same movies, same media, same music, same sports. More Canadians watch the Super Bowl more than we watch our own Grey Cup. We have the Canadian Football League, which I think is 8 teams now. Maybe 8 or 9 teams in the Canadian Football League: Hamilton, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto. Is that all we have? Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Hamilton. Yeah, there's only 4 teams, I think, in the East. And out west, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, BC, and maybe only 4 teams in the West. Oh, and Winnipeg. 5 teams in the West. Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And we have an annual Grey Cup, big party, but the Super Bowl is bigger than our Grey Cup. Anyway, Danny's saying that he can smell those Carney flags on the horizon. I'd prefer if Canadians, conservative-minded Canadians, didn't do that. I was not a fan of the F Trudeau signs. I understand the sentiment behind it, but at the same time, I have certain sensibilities that if you're going to win hearts and minds, you're going to get people's back up. There are individuals in Canada who see those F Trudeau signs and they go, I don't want to have anything to do with those ignorant jerks waving that F Trudeau sign. I don't want anything to do with them. And if anything, it pushes them into the Liberal fold. I wish those flags would be put away. Again, I'm a free speech guy. I would never ban them. I would just politely ask, put it away. I get it. You're angry, but it's counterproductive. If the idea is if you want to push people away from the Liberal Party, well, do it with discourse, do it with talking points, do it with fleshed out opinions and rationale and reasons, not with a sign with an F-bomb on it, even if the U in the F-bomb is a maple leaf. What's being written? Amy's writing, Brett, chicken, 1 for Indian curry. You guys love talking. You're talking. Brett and Amy are always discussing recipes. Last night it was tomato stuff. Everyone's wishing Sharunian a happy birthday. That's awesome. Amy's writing that she came in late, but at me, Carney bailed out from the French debate. Will it affect the French vote for the Liberals? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's going to hurt them big time. Not on the island of Montreal, maybe not in Westmount, but it's going to affect them. Quebec City, the Liberals are competitive in the capital city region around Quebec City, and that is going to hurt them big time. Wow, that's and this is what I talked about in my video yesterday. Mark Carney is going to be running as much of a shadow campaign as as he can, and he's afraid to debate. He's chickening out. That is massive. Thank you for that. Eat Me. Eat Me is keeping me in the loop on so many things. It was Eat Me who alerted me to the fact that Carney has kicked out a 10-year veteran, a liberal who's won the last 3 elections in Nepean. This Chandra Arya, I can't say his name, it's an Indian name, Chandra Arya, Arya. He was booted by the liberals out of his riding so that Mark Carney can take his spot. And the fact was that there's over 100 ridings in Canada that still don't have a Liberal Party candidate nominated. He could have gone anywhere, and instead he kicked out a long-standing member, a guy who'd won 3 elections, and that was Eat Me who brought that to light. And now she's bringing to light the fact that Carney is bailed out from the French debate. And yeah, it will impact. It's going to bolster the Bloc Québécois. What we need, my call right now, if someone has asked me my opinion, who's going to win the election, it's a coin flip. It's a coin flip between a conservative or a liberal minority. That's my guess. A coin flip. If you force me to decide between one or the other, I'm going to say it's going to be the conservatives, but very marginally. And it'll be difficult, but not impossible to govern because you'll have an opposition bench of the Liberals, the NDP, the Bloc Québécois, and the Green. And all Pierre Poilievre would have to do is what Stephen Harper did in the same situation, and that's play one off against the other. And Stephen Harper was masterful at it. Pierre Poilievre would have to engage in that same type of maneuvering to get his legislative agenda through, and it would be difficult. It would be difficult. There's a lot of political timing involved, and there's legislation that's more difficult to get through than others, and you have to. A lot of it's predicated on polling. What are the polls saying? Who can we cheese off? Who's low in the polls right now so that we can cheese them off so they'll either abstain or vote with us? It's a crazy game. And I've got Danny saying that I shouldn't worry about it, that my French isn't too bad. Don't inquiète pas. There's a word that gives me trouble. Don't worry about it. Forget about it. Ton français est pas pire. Pas si pire. It's not that bad. We'll see. I may give it a try. Max has had sciatic pain too. Did Andrew Huberman exercise on YouTube and it helped? The only exercise I really do, well, I do two. When I'm laying down, I lay down flat and I take the knee up and then I bend the knee over back and forth and I do that. And then the other one I do is I put the knee like that. I do that one and I stretch it out. And I'm not doing too bad. I mean, there we go. Those are the only two I know from physio. Not getting older, we're getting wiser. There we go. Then he gave me the acronym NSICOP, National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians. What a mouthful. And I've got Max asking everyone to give me a like. Thank you. It hasn't been the greatest video, but it is what it is. I enjoy doing them. I love the comments you guys hit me with, and I love the fact that I learned stuff. National Security and Intelligence Committee on Parliamentarians. I knew what it was about, but I couldn't quite nail down the acronym. Thank you for that, Danny. Eat Me helping me out with the fact that Mark Carney is now I don't want to debate in French. It's like Trudeau all over again. I can't come out and now I've got COVID. Tell the truckers to go away. I'm sick again. Uh, and Max saying, yeah, I screwed up there. Tariffs might go through on April 2nd, not 20th. Like that's cool. Yeah, I figured 2020. I do that a lot. I mean to say 2022, and then I say 2002. Happens when you're typing, happens when you're speaking. So April 2nd, we'll see what happens. I do have a fear, and I need to, I got to get a video out on this. I got to do a short one. Gasoline taxes in Canada should be dropping on April 1st by in and around 17 cents per liter. So gas had been selling in my area for about $1.47, and so that'll drop it down to $1.30. And it's a little bait and switch that Mark Carney is playing. He's dropped the carbon tax down to zero by an order in council. As supreme commander. There, I'm taking it down to zero so that Canadians will go, oh yay, thank you, Mark. It's costing me $10 less to fill up my truck. I just saved $10, $15 on a fill up. Oh, these liberals are great, but it's only a temporary reprieve. Because what Mark Carney has promised to do is to replace the old carbon tax with a new levy that's going to be charged directly to companies like oil and gas companies, and they will just build it into the price. So the reason Mark Carney had to reduce it down to zero is because of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives made such a big issue out of the carbon tax. This was going to be the carbon tax election. And so, in an effort to try and take the wind out of the Conservative sails, Carney is canceled. That's the way he frames it. I canceled the tax. I took it down to zero. Oh, aren't I wonderful? But I'm going to replace it later. So the message I've got to get out, and I think we all have to get out, is that if you like the fact that the carbon tax has been removed and that you're saving money filling up the car now, thank the Conservatives. And if you want the price of gasoline to go shooting back up, well, then vote for Carney so he can put a new carbon tax on, a new levy. I'm just going to read the last. Amy saying, I think Trump may wait until the end of the election. Then again, he changes his mind every day. Yeah, it's hard to know what he will do. I think things would have been far better had Trump not openly mused about making Canada the 51st state. And that has changed the landscape of the Canadian political scene completely. Everyone's falling over each other to show how I'm more Canadian than you. Everyone's trying to bleed maple syrup, and it's all about emotion. I don't want to be an American. Americans are evil. Uh, Max is going to share the exercises he did. Eat me feeds on politics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No worries, Amy. I appreciate it so much. Danny's writing that Jesus is king. I've got to get my faith out there as well. Got to get that included in my messages. Uh, Sharunian saying that living in Brampton feels like a third world country. Bangladesh, sometimes referred to. Um, Danny's saying the gas will drop by about 17 cents, but a week later, companies will raise price by 40 cents. Ha ha ha. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it'll stay down, in around $1.30. There will be about a 17-cent drop, and it'll stay there for the duration of the election. The corporate sector is all in. They like a guy like Mark Carney who takes jobs from Toronto and moves them to New York. They like Mark Carney. They like this globalist agenda. It's COVID all over again. When the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. the COVID did not do any harm whatsoever to the Amazons, Costco's, Weston families, the rich. COVID was the best thing that ever happened to their bottom lines. If you were a small restaurant owner, owned a hair salon, esthetician, little bookshop, if you owned a small business, well, good chance you went bankrupt. But the big boys did gangbusters, and they're going to be all behind Carney winning this election. Amy saying, never trust the scorpion asking to swim across the river on the back of a frog. They both end up drowning. Amy saying something about same for the carbon tax. Sarunian's writing, Harjit Sajan is corrupt and has ties to Bindi Joel. I don't know who Bindi Joel is, but Harjit Sajan was for a time our defense minister. He's sick. He served in Afghanistan. He was a senior officer with the Canadian military. I was really surprised that he was made the defense minister over General Leslie, who also got elected, but whatever. Danny's writing, it was made public that Mike Myers sold his soul for 50K. Oh, I like this. So Mike Myers was paid $50,000 for that crappy little ad. Mr. Prime Minister, the way he kept referring to Mark Carney as Prime Minister, sounded like he wanted to puke on the words. So he got 50,000. Is that, you've come across that? This is all gold. No problem, Max. Thank everyone. Thank Eat Me, Danny, Sharunian, Brett, Mac, everyone. It's like Beyonce or whatever. Beyonce, however you say her name, shilling for Kamala Harris. Hollywood loves. And Amy is saying that Quebec will raise the price because they can, and Legault doesn't care. Legault is Francois Legault is the premier governor of Quebec. Danny's writing that Montreal lost 60% of its restaurants. They'll never be back. We used to be a world-class food destination, not anymore. It just crushed the small business sector disgustingly. Amy saying yes. And if no one remembers the elbow up, it was the COVID handshake elbows. Oh gosh. Man. Oh yeah. Oh, I got to tell a funny story. It was in July of 2020, and a friend was having a birthday party at a local campground. And I went with my wife and the little guy would go to this campground, very local, and they had their trailer there, and they had a number of friends coming to celebrate. I can't even remember the guy's name now. Dan's 40th birthday. And he's got friends there, family. I knew some, didn't know others. And we were all shaking hands and acting normal. It was wonderful. And then someone, and I think it was Dan's father-in-law, came over, and I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Gordon. I used to live across the street or down the road from Dan. And I went to shake his hand. He went, oh, and he stuck his elbow up and he said, you know, there's a pandemic going on. And I said, no, I don't. The look on his face was total shock and horror. I was as normal as I could be. Max is saying that 50K seems like a very low price to sell your soul, especially as someone as wealthy. We don't know how wealthy he is. I don't know how well Mike Myers manages his money. And 50K, for an hour's work, for a couple hours work, it's not bad coin. And it sure doesn't look like they did a lot of rehearsing. It looks like it was, they held up the cue cards and just read this and okay, like 50K, you've only got me for half an hour there, Mark. Like that's how cheesy bad it looked. Okay, according to Google, he's worth 200 million US dollars. How much of it is liquid, though? Yeah, everyone needs some cash every now and again. Who knows? Crypto I do it for half. Would do it for half of that. Yeah, you know what? If Mark Carney was going to throw me $50,000, I might just do an ad with him and be just as horrible as Mike Myers was. Why not? I could do it worse. Rent is expensive. Oh, I'd forgotten about the elbow tap. Oh, good fodder. Good fodder for, things that we can talk about to take Carney down. Uh, and Nancy's Amy saying, got a long memory about that whole COVID insanity. When I saw that elbows up, rang too many bells. And do not trust an elbow shake ever. No kidding. No kidding. 200 million. And everyone, I am caught up on the messages. Wow. Anyway, everyone, if you're going to be near your computer, I'm going to say I'm going to do it around noon tomorrow, sometime around noon tomorrow. I'm going to do another live stream, hoping to get some engagement from new eyes, hopefully build the channel. I'll try and put some thought into the talking points. I'm going to be talking like I've never talked about it before. You know, recognizing that by putting out content during the day, that there may be people who will stumble on my station and go, "Who is this guy?" And maybe they'll check me out. And anyway, everyone here has probably already subscribed. I don't know if Yenta's Bagels is still around. I love that name though, Yenta's Bagels, fantastic. Yenta. Uh, at any rate, I always think a Yenta is an old Jewish woman. That's what I think, an old maid, an old unmarried Jewish woman. And now I'm going into my New York accent. There we go. Anyway, God bless all. I'll end with the blessing I always like to end with from the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 24. The one that says, where Aaron says to God's covenant chosen people, may the Lord bless and keep you and lift up his countenance upon you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you, and may the Lord grant you peace. And in this crazy times, you can still find peace in God's word. Get into the Holy Bible. Get into a faith community. And we'll see you all tomorrow talking about more politics. See if anyone finished off anything out in the chat. Nope. Great. All right. No worries, eat me. Anyone and everyone who can show up, please show up tomorrow. We'll see you. We'll see you all then, or perhaps later on. Good night, all.